Life changed overnight when my girlfriend told me she was pregnant, then confessed the child might not be mine after her ex returned demanding a second chance, while friends pressured me to stay and prove I was mature enough to handle it. It's one of those nights that feel heavy, when the air is thick enough that it's pressing against my chest. I'm 25, with a tight apartment in Chicago, spending my days working long hours at a warehouse, trying to make music at night, the sort that nobody listens to, but that keeps me afloat. The girl, Jewelora, 24, has been acting strange for weeks, but I couldn't get a read on what's going on with her. Thought she might be stressed from that job she landed at the bookstore, but maybe it's just the way she's been having moods lately. Then, out of the blue, she sits me down on a Friday night, tells me she's pregnant. The bottom drops out of my stomach, my mouth dries, I struggle to get the words out. She tells me she doesn't know whether it's mine, that her ex, Darren, 28, a guy she hooked up with before me, who's been out of the picture but popped back up unexpectedly, asking for a second chance, that he's been banging on about wanting a chance now that she's started with me. I remember sitting there staring at her, trying to read her expression, hunting for a sign that she's kidding me, that she's crying, that she's waiting on me to blow, but there's only that quiet, shaking, incredulity, that stuff that's all cramped up honesty. I wanted to shout, to split, to do 100 things all at once, but I couldn't. Just sat there, pounding my head against my palms, feeling as though my whole life had shifted in one go. The apartment seemed to close in around me, seemed as though the walls were inches from my face, that the hum of the fridge in the corner is pounding. Then came the arm twisting from my other friends, a bunch of kids from back in the neighborhood. You gotta stay, man, show that you're adult enough to keep all this in perspective. Don't bail on me now. I didn't want to be that guy who runs from his responsibility, but I also didn't want to be stuck in a situation that might not even be my own, a situation that might ruin our lives together if I stayed. Cameron, my best friend, 26, had called me the next day, his voice barely over the phone, pleading with me to take control, to not let my fear consume my life. I remember looking at the ceiling after I hung up, thinking, is this my life now? And Jewelora appeared in front of me, sitting across from me, tears in her eyes, reaching for my hand, but I hesitated, torn somewhere between wanting to comfort her, wanting to run so far away that I never hear from her again. She told me how she is torn, how Darren appeared, how she doesn't know what to do, how the baby might be mine, might not be mine, how she is so scared. And me? I am numb, but every now and then, a pang of anger, of hurt, hits me, making me want to shout, to cry, maybe even do both. But that's what happens when people ask a lot from me, when my life is a mess, and people keep expecting things from me that I am unsure I am capable of providing, even when it's Jewelora, my best friend, who is asking from me. I thought of my family back home, my sister, my mother, wondering how I'll face them with a failure. And about Jewelora, whose nervous hands, quiet voice, tears speak loudly enough that I am not heartlessly leaving her behind in all this, enough that a part of my heart, which I barely touch, feels sympathy because she is left alone in all this too, but the pressure on my chest from all that's happening, all that's weighing on my chest, the baby, my ex, my friends, my own life, everything crashes down at once, making it hard to breathe. I spend hours pacing back and forth inside my apartment, going back to my moments with Jewelora, looking for a sign, a hint, a single clue that might tell me what to do. The nights we stayed up, talking about our future together, living together, a dog, something that seems so far, now when it seems that maybe things are taking a different turn, a different life, a different what's next awaits me. Then my mind flashed back to our fight 3 weeks prior, because of course it did, over something ridiculously small. She accused me of caring too little for her, which I brushed off, which I am now blaming myself for, wondering if that's what gave her the chance to go back to him once more. And Darren. The very thought of him made my blood pump with a righteous, choking rage, not only for what he might have been capable of with her, but because he'd always been someone who made people, who made the whole entire world, feel uncertain, feel small, feel afraid. And now he's back, when things were supposed to be ours alone. I find myself wanting to call him, to shout, to tell him to get the hell out, but Jewelora said enough, that she wanted to take care of this on her own, so I stayed quiet, my silence a palpable, screaming thing. Friends are texting, calling, pleading with me, full of step-ups and proving that I'm ready for a responsibility such as this. There were nights when I thought I might actually, literally, lose my mind, with all these feelings swirling inside me: fear, love, anger, a sort of hope, maybe, and the days were dragging on with hushed tones, sidestepped conversation, a sense of aching anticipation that might never come. And in that instant, it hit me that my life had changed overnight. Not a struggle, a process, Ariel's transformation, but a fundamental shift from one state to another, which my brain didn't prepare for. None of what I'd known, what I'd been so certain of, mattered anymore. Sleep, eat, breathe. All three things, which had been my life, my means, my existence, suddenly reduced to what? I didn't know what to do, how to feel, whom to trust. The only thing I knew for certain was that my life would never be the same. The next morning, my gut still knotted, my mind still racing, with no amount of coffee, no amount of attempting to shake it off, changing that fact. Jewelora had already left for work, her scribbled message on the counter a hasty apology but tinged with tension that seemed to radiate from every letter she had penned. I sat on the edge of the couch, my gaze fixed on the peel and paint job on the wall, reflecting on the call from Darren that I had managed to avoid all night long. Part of me ached with the need to pick it up, to shout back, to finish his return before he even started, but another part of me, tired of the ache from previous wounds, wanted to make him disappear. Although, really, make him disappear sounded a lot easier than what my mind screamed at that moment. Get my life together for once. The urge to respond rose, this time from Cameron, who had been blowing my line with his texting messages. "You okay, man?" and a reinstalling string of cheerful-looking emoticons that meant squat. The messages went unanswered. I didn't have the energy from my mental game playing of the previous night. It dawned on me that I had to confront my other friends, the ones who'd been drumming inside my head with my own need to prove myself. They thought I was supposed to keep an air of command, that I had a master plan, when, really, I couldn't even tell which day of the week it happened to be, let alone a plan for what I should do with my life. Prior to noon, my phone erupted with messages, all from different people, with variations on a theme: step it up, be strong, show her what a real partner is worth. I didn't feel strong enough to last a minute, not to mention a life with a complete stranger who'd been proven, with full crystal clarity, that he'd screw me worse than I'd initially thought. Jewelora also called during lunch. Her voice sounded fragile, childlike, with ramifications on every single syllable that sounded almost Latanic. A moral lesson, a guilty reminder, a nervous wish that she's what I'd remain with. She said that he'd come back to where she worked, asking questions, charming his way back, meant to forge a past where it never happened. But she, with all her uncertainty, seemed almost enthralled with the drama, as if she couldn't resist the attraction to him, even as she whispered that she didn't know which she wanted, him or me, or whether she even wanted the baby. I felt my chest constricting, my hands shaking with the listening, and a part of me, preferably the part that didn't exist, longed to slam my doors shut on her, but another part, a part that seemed, impossibly, still in love with her, still wanting things to work, to find a way past the past the uncertainty, past the baby that might not be mine, wondered how my friends, my family, my own sense of what's expected of me, were choking me, smothering me. So here I am, pacing once more along the narrow length of my apartment's confined hallway, my mind snagged on my young brother, Kellen, 21, who'd always looked to me for advice on his own romances, blissfully unaware of the tempest brewing within me. I knew that I had to make a choice, make a decision, even if it killed me, which it probably would, which it already might, but enough on that thought. Later, that evening, Jewelora came over, fresh from her shift. We didn't speak, but simply sat there together, in the dark, the thrum of the city noises drifting past our glass, the thrum of the refrigerator providing a parallel background murmur. A reminder that life moves on past a pause, a reminder that my life, apparently, is a hurricane-torn pause in the middle of a storm, a calm before, a calm after, but never really a calm when it came to Jewelora. Never really a calm when it came to her needs, my own, hers, our own, my own. And then Cameron appeared at the door, unwelcome but unstoppable, his eyes wild with worry, literally shouting as soon as he stepped inside about how I couldn't just let this slide, how I had to take responsibility for it, how what it meant to be a man is that sometimes you do what's hard when all your body wants to do is say no. I felt boxed in, trapped, like a pawn in a game of chess being forced to make a move that I didn't want to take, while all the while Leora's eyes darted back and forth from me to him, weighing, judging, unsure. We huddled on the couch, the three of us, talking, yelling, pacing, sniffling, me trying to make sense of a situation that made no sense, wondering how I'd ever be able to trust my own mind again. Cameron's presence made me think of the life I'd been racing toward, our pad that we'd signed the lease on, our lazy Sundays, our small meals, my music that would never get heard, and I wondered what might survive the storm that now seemed to be raging in our lives. The night dragged on, thick with tension, and I realized that the decisions I made, or failed to make, might forever shift the game. Inside, my heart felt raw, exposed, vulnerable, and I knew that there would be no going back, no way that things would go easily, no nice solution. It all boiled down to my trying, stumbling, shaking, to make my way through the mess, a step at a time, praying that somehow, someway, we might weather this storm that threatened to sweep us clean. It felt like trudging through fog in the days that followed. Every time I thought I had a grip on what was happening, something shifted, like the ground beneath me was moving. Leora started avoiding my calls, then showing up at odd hours, whispering about appointments, about tests, about things I wasn't sure I was ready to hear. I'm 25, but in those moments I felt older, like life had slammed me into some role I hadn't auditioned for. Darren, of course, didn't make it easy. He sent messages, showing up at places he shouldn't, and each time I saw him, I felt that old surge of anger mixed with confusion and that inexplicable fear that I wasn't enough, not just for Leora, but for the responsibility that might soon be mine. My friends were relentless. Cameron, especially, kept circling in my head, his voice repeating, "You have to stand up, man. Prove you're not scared of your life." But it wasn't just fear. It was everything: love, doubt, hope, anger, heartbreak, loyalty, insecurity. I started noticing things I hadn't before. The little hesitations in Leora's voice, the way she flinched when I mentioned Darren, the late nights she spent on her phone. And I couldn't tell if she was lying, or just scared, or genuinely torn, because the truth was, I wasn't sure what I would do if the baby wasn't mine. Part of me wanted to retreat into numbness, to shut everything out, but another part, the stubborn part that loved her, that wanted to protect her even when she made terrible choices, wouldn't let me. One night, we were sitting on the worn couch in my apartment, the TV playing some meaningless sitcom that neither of us was watching, and she finally confessed something that made my chest constrict. She said, "I don't know if it's yours, and I don't know what I want, but I do know I'm scared." And just like that, every bit of control I thought I had vanished. I could feel my fingers trembling, my mind racing, trying to figure out what to say, how to react, how not to break down completely. I wanted to scream, to hit something, to run, but I didn't. I just sat there, silent, as the words sank in, as the weight of the situation pressed down on me harder than anything I'd ever known. I thought about calling Darren, about demanding some clarity, but what good would that do? Leora wasn't ready to make a choice, and neither was I. We were two people trapped in a situation neither of us had asked for, and everyone around us seemed determined to push, pull, and judge at every turn. My friend's advice started to feel like a burden instead of support, a constant reminder that I was expected to be stronger, better, braver than I felt. And then came the confrontation I'd been dreading. Darren showed up at my door one evening, unannounced, smug, confident, the kind of presence that makes a room feel smaller, tighter, suffocating. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He just looked at me, this mixture of challenge and charm, and said, "You sure you want to be the guy in her life when I could be the one who's always been there?" My heart pounded. My blood boiled. I wanted to throw him out, to punch him, to tell him to leave, but Leora's voice stopped me. She was behind him, pale, anxious, whispering, trying to explain, trying to mediate, and in that moment, I realized that this was bigger than any fight. This was about our lives, our choices, our future, and I didn't even know what mine should look like. The next few days blurred together, appointments, tests, arguments, late-night phone calls with friends trying to steer me toward the right decision, quiet moments with Leora where we both tried to act normal but failed miserably. But more than that, the possibility of whether this child was even mine had hung over us like a dark cloud, tainting every smile, every touch, and every conversation. I began to notice the little things that used to make me love her, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, how she laughed at things that weren't funny, how she apologized when she didn't have to, and it hurt seeing them now because every little gesture carried shades of doubt. And I thought about running, about leaving, about pretending that none of this existed. But I couldn't, not because I was brave, not because I was mature, but because I still cared, because I wasn't capable of imagining a life in which I did not try, in which I didn't fight, even if the fight was against uncertainty itself. And in the struggle, in the fight, I was starting to figure out something about myself, realizing that I wasn't ready, not really, that I was learning. I was realizing that life doesn't wait for anyone, that sometimes the hardest decisions come when you least expect them, and that sometimes love and fear are tangled in ways you just can't untangle without getting cut. Every day was a test, a challenge, a battle with me and with everyone around, and I knew that by the end of it, whatever happened, I would never be the same. I wasn't just facing Leora, Darren, my friends, the unknown future. I was facing myself, and that, I realized, might be the hardest fight of all. The final appointment was to take place this morning, and it had felt unreal all night, as if I were moving through someone else's life, watching events unfold from the corner of a room I did not belong in. Leora was quiet, pale, sitting across from me with her hands tightly clasped in her lap, her thumb nervously twisting the ring she never wore. I thought about all of the nights spent pacing, replaying conversations, the weight of every expectation, every threat, every well-meant push from my friends. Then the doctor came in with the results, calm, professional, almost oblivious to the storm that had built in my chest over weeks. She looked at Leora, then at me, and said softly, "The baby is yours." I remember my body sagging, the relief and disbelief mixing so sharply I couldn't tell if I wanted to laugh or cry. Leora's lips were trembling, her eyes glistening. She reached out, taking my hand in both of hers, her whisper barely audible. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know how to handle it all." I squeezed her hand back, feeling a weird mix of exhaustion and love and caution. We'd weathered the storm, but I knew that wasn't the same as it being over. Darren's presence, his interference, his shadow hanging over the past weeks, it lingered, a reminder that sometimes trust can be fragile and that people can enter our lives and leave them never quite the same. I thought about Cameron and my friends and the way they'd piled the pressure on me, and I saw, too, that even though their words had overwhelmed me, they'd also pushed me to look at myself, to face fears I hadn't admitted to myself. I'd been terrified, yes, but I'd also found resilience I hadn't known I had, patience I hadn't practiced, and a capacity for love and responsibility I hadn't fully owned up to. Later, Leora and I sat on the couch in the quiet apartment, the city hum outside our window softer somehow, and we talked not about what Darren had done, or what my friends had said, or even the baby, but about us, about how to navigate the uncertain future, about forgiveness, boundaries, and the life we wanted to build together. I realized that the road ahead wouldn't be simple. Arguments would flare, moments of doubt would grip, sleepless nights, and challenges we couldn't yet imagine. But in that instant, with her hand in mine and the truth finally settled between us, I felt a fragile kind of hope, a tentative trust, and a sense that maybe, just maybe, we could handle it. And though I knew life would keep testing us, would keep throwing challenges and temptations and fears in our path, I knew, too, that I had chosen to stay, to fight, to be present, and that made all the difference. There wasn't a perfect ending, a neat resolution, only two people trying to survive the chaos and finding small pieces of connection that made the world feel a little less threatening. And looking at Leora, feeling the weight of everything we'd endured and the uncertainty of everything still to come, I knew life had changed overnight, but we'd survived, and sometimes survival, sometimes choosing to stay, was its own kind of victory. We didn't have it all worked out. Perhaps we never would. But at least we had each other, for now, and somehow, that mattered. And in that quiet, small apartment, I let myself finally exhale, knowing that no matter what came next, I was ready to face it, not perfectly, not completely confident, but with the commitment to try, to love, and to endure.